All right, today we have Mike Price. He's a Emmy and Writers Guild Award-winning producer and writer for The Simpsons, and also a big Mets fan. And we enjoy that. We enjoy baseball fans on this podcast. Hi, Mike. How are you doing?
Hi, Laura. Hi, Cole. I'm great. So happy to talk to you.
So I hear congratulations are in order that The Simpsons have earned a few Emmy nominations. What'd you guys get nominated for?
Yeah, well, The Simpsons got nominated. Just the awards nomination just came out a few minutes ago for best animated show, I guess you would call it, outstanding animated program. So we're up against some other great shows, Bob's Burgers, and a show called Common Side Effects that's new, a show called Arcane, and a show called Love, Death, and Robots on Netflix. So, but yeah, that episode that we submitted for is one that I was a producer on, helped write. It was our season premiere. That was called Bart's Birthday. That was the pretending to be the finale of the whole show with Conan O'Brien hosting this special and everything. And it went pretty crazy after that. So we're really, really proud of that episode. And then our actor Hank Azaria, who plays Mo the bartender, among other great parts, got nominated for playing Mo the bartender in our baseball related episode that aired a couple of weeks ago called Abe League of Their Mo, where Mo and Grandpa helped out a let's say a Shohei Ohtani esque baseball player come to Springfield.
I was just watching Bart's Birthday, and it has hit after hit with Hack GPT trying to put together storylines and Bart hating change. I mean, when you look at some of the jokes in that, because it is a jam-packed episode, is there one that you're particularly proud of?
Oh, in that episode itself,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, maybe. I mean, it's not so necessarily a joke that like a word joke, but like a visual thing, which is Jess Conrad and was the writer of the episode along with myself and Matt Selman, who's our showrunner. It was his idea to do the episode, so we all kind of collaborated on it together. And so much of the hard part was figuring out like what was the intro part. The first whole third of the show is this Conan O'Brien talking about the history of the show and everything. And I think it was probably the visual thing more than anything else, which is this idea that they had tried to end the show several other ways by having Homer being killed off. And
Yeah.
so the thing where Homer is skiing down the hill after seeing stupid, sexy Flanders in his tight pants, and then
Nothing at all.
yeah, right, and then he runs into a tree which splits him in half. So I believe we pitched that, and then when we first saw that animated, like the whole writers' room, just like we all just like fell off our chairs laughing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I remember watching that when it premiered because the hype for it was, it was like, oh, Conan's coming back and it's the season 36 premiere. It's going to be awesome. So I was seated for that. And yeah, much like you guys, this is that seeing that Simpsons gag where Homer goes down the hill and gets split in half. I haven't laughed that hard in a while.
Yeah.
Ugh,
oh, that's great. That's
yeah.
great.
It does make me wonder, what is that writer's room like? I mean, when you've got all these minds coming together, and obviously you guys have been working together for a really long time, but it must be a blast.
Yeah, it is. It is. We all get along so well. Most of us have been working together for many, many, many years. So I've been on the show. I can't even tell you. I mean, it's crazy to say, think about it. But my first day working on the show was in December of 2001. So going on 24 years. And there's people there who are on the show who've been there longer than me. And we have our most recent people joined like around 3 or 4 years ago. Um, we all get along great. We're hardly ever all together. Like there's about 17 of us all together, but we're hardly ever all in one room together. Like we're often kind of split off into smaller, like mini factions working on different episodes. And yeah, we all just, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but we're all just laughing a lot and making each other laugh. But it is hard work because it's a show that's been on for 37 years now and trying to find new stories to tell, new things to tackle. It's always difficult, but it's always really fun, and we all have each other's backs, and it's very collaborative and very fun, and we just have a really great time.
I feel like among the baseball writers, obviously, Abe League of their Mo, that was all we were talking about when we got to work. I was like, "Oh, you were in it, and this is this," and That was the City Field press box after after
Oh,
that
wow, that's
episode.
so cool.
No, yeah, we were all talking about it, all super excited. As a baseball fan yourself, how much of a hand did you have in that episode, and how much did you just enjoy consuming it?
Yeah, I was very involved in it. So the way our show works is that Matt Selman is our overall showrunner, and even above him is our super bosses are Matt Groening, of course, and Jim Brooks. But Matt is our day-to-day showrunner, and then there's five of us, and I'm one of the five who are considered, we're called co-runners, meaning that we each have a select group of episodes that we kind of shepherd and produce like on a day-to-day basis. So that means like when we have the idea, we work really closely with the writer of the episode. Sometimes I'm the writer of the episode that I'm doing, but for the most cases not. So in this case, is a great guy named Joel Cohen who's been on the show longer than me. Also a huge sports fan. Um, he worked on another baseball related episode many years ago. We always wanted to try to do something sports related in baseball. And the last baseball episode that we had done that was full on baseball was about 10 or 12 years ago. It was called Money Bart. And that was where Lisa became kind of like a Bill James sort of sabermetric manager of Bart's Little League baseball team. And we had Bill James guest on the show along with Mike Scioscia returning to The Simpsons after his original episode. Anyway, so we were thinking of like what could we do, and like we want to do a baseball episode, and at one point it was going to be about Bart being like a ball hog, like that guy who runs around. I forget his name, but you know who he
Zach
is. But
Campbell.
yeah, right. So Bart was going to be that guy, and he was going to like learn how to catch balls and sell them and everything, and but then they never quite figured out how to make that work, and then right around that time when we were thinking about all this, the whole Otani scandal blew up,
Oh, wow.
and we had a lot of laughs about that, of course. And as a Mets fan, as a Mets fan living in Los Angeles, I'm obliged to hate the Dodgers.
Makes
So
sense.
it was a little bit of whatever, what's the word? Um, Shade and Friday, I guess it's called, like when you're enjoying
Yeah.
the misery of others. But anyway, but Matt Selman was the one who figured out it would be so funny, like picturing what was the conversation like between Shohei and his interpreter, where the interpreter was maybe not telling Shohei what the questions were that were being asked, and that he was making up other questions, and he's like, they're asking you, how do you feel about playing, the Cardinals this week? When they're really asking about why are you gambling on baseball? So, so that turned into like, oh, what would be fun to find a way to do that? How could we do a Springfield Simpsons version of that? And then it didn't, as our discussions just work out that way. Like, okay, well, what would be fun? Who would be baseball? Who could, we automatically figured like we have some kind of phenom like character like that who would want to come to Springfield. Why would he want to come to Springfield? And Joel came up with the idea that maybe he's from like Macedonia, and that maybe Mo is somehow Macedonian and could be his interpreter. So Mo is the interpreter. He's already a shifty guy to begin with. It was funny. And then we thought it might be fun, like who could we team him up with? And we didn't want to do Bart. We didn't want to do Homer. And then the idea hit on like we'd never seen Mo doing really have a story with Grandpa, Homer's dad. So it just worked out that way. And then we had a funny idea where like they were hanging out together, and Homer walks in and realizes like Mo and his father are together. And there was a joke we cut where like Mo says, "They wait, you're that Homer Simpson, whatever. That Homer Simpson is your son, whatever, like that." He goes, "You're that Mo the bartender." But anyway, it just worked out that way, and then the pieces all kind of fell into place of how to tell the story, and then it became so much of what. So much of the way we run things is like it's always fun to have jokes. The jokes always come, but it's always working out. It's like what are the beats of the story? What are the emotional beats? So the emotional beats were that Mo and Grandpa love baseball. They were the only real true fans left, and then like baseball was dying, and then when they have a chance to get this guy, they appeal to him because he's like kind of a big kid, and he comes and he loves Mo, and then it became this whole big thing about the schism between the two of them over like Mo getting seduced by like the easy living of Major League Baseball and all the money and all that, and then Grandpa being like the traditionalist who was mad about how baseball is changing, and then like that. So then that we always work out the emotional trappings of the story first, and then the jokes always follow because everybody's really funny. And Joel especially is absolutely hilarious writer, just so funny and so easy to work with, and really, really, really great.
Oh,
That's
that's
fantastic.
yeah, that's I love getting that look behind the curtain, from the writer's room and things like that, and how episodes come together. It's so funny when like cultural things happen, and then The Simpsons do a take on it. Like you can watch, a lot of the episodes and be like, oh, they're referencing this from real life, or they're referencing that Broadway play. Always appreciate, and some, you know as you grow older, you're like, oh, I didn't even realize that that was a thing at the time. Like there's
Right.
like a lot of political jokes, especially from the 90s. You're like, I had no idea what that was when I was a 10-year-old watching the episode. And now as like a 35-year-old man, you're like, oh my God. That was such a riff on like the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. Like so good, all these subversive things. So you came on the show in late 2001, 2002.
Yeah.
Uh, as a producer and writer, was there any character that you were particularly like excited to write for?
Yeah, I love them all. I'd have to say because I'm a big fan of like as a kid, I just watched TV all the time. Like I grew up in New Jersey, it's the New York area, so like I just watched, and this is like even before, certainly before streaming, but even before cable. Like as a kid, it was just like the main channels were like channel 2, 4, and 7 were the network channels, and there was channel 5 and channel 9 and channel 11 were, and the Mets were on channel 9, of course, back in those days. But I would just watch everything. So like, and all those other channels like channel 5 and channel 9, channel 11 just have old movies and old reruns of every old dumb show. So I would watch all that stuff, and I became like just enamored of like old time showbiz and learning the names of like old comedians and stuff. So that's just a way of saying that Krusty became the character that I really enjoyed the most at first, and I still like him. He's so funny, and he gives me a chance to sort of trot out my old references to like Borscht Belt comedians of the 1950s that nobody else, certainly nobody else in the writers' room, probably has ever heard of. Like someone like Corbett Monica or whatever. It's an old guy, or Jan Murray, whatever. Like Krusty's an old hack, and so it's really fun to sort of channel him when we're working with
Yeah,
his character.
watched A Star Is Burns the other day, and yeah, it moved me to a bigger house. Oh no, I said the quiet part out loud, the loud part quiet.
I still say that to this day.
I think that episode originated. That's where that came from that episode, that which now is everywhere, saying, "Oh no, you said the quiet part out loud."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's from that episode,
Yeah,
which
well,
was
and
yeah.
that's the other crazy thing is that The Simpsons have been in our lives like so long that, Doe is added to the Webster's dictionary, and there is just these cultural things that are ingrained in our like society now that have derived from The Simpsons.
I think
Uh,
it's been really strange for us to, yeah,
predicting the
because I've been
future.
working. Well, yeah, that doesn't really happen, but I think the future just. I think you'd say what we usually tend to say is that The Simpsons writes like a really stupid version of America, and then America just got stupid and made it happen.
Arguably, yeah.
Uh, but no, like just to see how like the whole like how the show became so with the rise of like social media, it became all these memes were created, and like I was in the room, I think, when we were working on a show, and Al Jean was a showrunner, and he came up with we needed like a funny thing for Grandpa to hold up a picture or something. I think he was at the DMV, and he's like, "Oh, here's a recent picture," and it was that thing where it says old man yells at cloud."
Yes.
And so Al just pitched that in the room. He's like, "How about old man yells at cloud?" Oh, that's funny. And now it's become this thing that you see
Yeah.
everywhere. So it's very strange to
Like
see that, or like
I'm
the
having an
hedges, of
old man
course,
yelling at
or
the cloud moment. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, yeah,
Right. Yeah.
or like Homer going into the hedges. That's before my time,
That's
but
iconic.
yeah, or like the other thing I see all the time now is the thing where Skinner. It's like a two picture meme where he goes
Right.
like, have I gone so out of touch? No, it's the children that are wrong. Like that's used for everything now. So it's really crazy to see that become so ubiquitous and see all the Simpson stuff like everywhere.
There
Yeah.
must
it's
be
really interesting.
One
such a
sketch
sense of
that
pride.
with Skinner that I think universally is loved and will always make me laugh harder than it ever should, but the Aurora Borealis
Oh, of
with
course, Steam
with
Hams. Yeah,
Super Nintendo Chalmers. Good Lord, what is happening in there? It's iconic. Iconic.
yeah, yeah. So it's funny because on the show, because we're aware of it. Sometimes we'll make a reference to it. Like in the last couple of years, we've done a one or two like references to the hedges. There was a one where it was an episode where another sports related episode where Bart became a caddy at the golf course, and they kind of went in and out of the hedges to go over to the golf course, and like Bart was like, "Oh, I see my dad do this." So we'll make references to that sometimes. We try not to harp on it too much. Like we're always trying to focus on the future and like what's moving the show forward as opposed to being like too backward looking. Having said that, I did that whole episode where it was entirely backward looking. No one that could nominate for anything except for the future. Then we move forward. We move forward.
Well, yeah,
So
it's a great mix of it. It's so much of it is part of our childhoods, and the nostalgia factor is so huge. But then there's the challenge of, okay, how do you keep this fresh in an extremely changing world that, as you said, is getting progressively stupider?
it is. I hate to say it, but it is caught up. The world is caught up with The Simpsons.
That is
That's a good way of putting
that is
it.
so
So
funny.
season 14 was your first season.
Yes,
Okay.
I joined when I joined the show. Season 13 was on the air, and so I had a hand in like a couple of episodes towards the end of season 13. But then, right, season 14 was my first full season on the show, and we're about to start season 37 is coming on the air in September.
I know it must be very hard to pick, but do you have a favorite episode that you've worked on?
It is hard. I would say there's one for very, very personal reasons, which is that it was on, boy, it was on 17 years ago now, but it was called E Pluribus Wigum, and it was where through set of crazy circumstances, like a presidential primary election was held in Springfield, and it became the first in the nation. And because that, anyway, it all turned out to be like they all wrote in Ralph Wiggum as a protest candidate, and he won. And then suddenly he was anointed like the front runner for the nomination for both parties, and it became a crazy thing. But anyway, the reason I like it so much is that because when I was working on writing it, my wife Monica is a writer, but she writes books. She's a real writer. She's an author. But she was working on writing a book at the time, and so my son was 10 years old then, and so we spent a lot of time like on weekends, like taking big long drives, so Monica could have her time to write. So we would take these big drives, and we would stop off at like various fast food places, and one had like the kind of thing where like it's the garbage can where it has the extra like scoop that comes out of the garbage can that goes
Yeah.
right to your window.
The
So you
drive-by
have to leave
garbage can.
drive by garbage can, right? So we had one of those, and my son Will's, he goes, "Oh man, Homer Simpson would love this because he's so lazy." And I was like, "Oh my God, you're right." So then that turned into the whole first third of that episode was about Homer discovering a place like this and using it as his personal dumping ground for like dumping everything, all the crap from his car, including old batteries, car batteries, and it caused an explosion that destroyed like the entire fast food area of the town. So anyway, so he was like sort of pitching it with me, and like I'd say, okay, what would happen here? And he said, oh, it could be this, could be that, So it was we kind of I always call that our episode that we wrote together. And
Oh,
then that episode got nominated for a Writers Guild Award like the year later, and then he came with us to the Writers Guild Award. 11-year-old Will's in his first ever tuxedo, and we didn't win it, but he came to the Writers Guild Awards with us, and it was very, very sweet. Although at the Writers Guild Awards, Carl Reiner, the late Carl Reiner, was up there like making some speech, and he really worked really blue. He was saying a lot of curse words. And I was like
you're like, don't
put my
listen,
hands
don't listen.
over my 10-year-old son's ears.
Oh,
But
that's
yeah.
too funny.
But anyway, so that whenever I think of that episode, I think about those days of us driving around and him coming up with funny ideas.
That is so sweet. I just remember Cheesy McMayer from that episode. Was it nobody likes a weepy meat?
Wow, wow, that's a
I'd
deep
only
cut.
watched it a
Yeah.
little while ago. That's why I do not have
Oh, that's great.
great recall.
Yeah, I mean the reason. Well, I'll get to the question in a sec, but the reason why I bring up like season 14, it was the first like the two episodes that stick out in my mind from that season is how I spent my Strummer vacation, which had like Tom
Yeah,
Petty, Lenny Kravitz, a bevy of rock stars, which must have been so cool to have in studio. And then the Great Louse Detective, which is a great sideshow Bob.
yeah.
Kelsey
Wow.
Grammer, having him in and bringing Frank Grimes Jr. back.
Right. Yeah.
How is old Grimey? He's dead.
Yeah. Yeah. Those were both really fun.
Wait,
I
he didn't
remember.
have a wife. He happened to like hookers, okay?
That's
So
right.
good. So good.
Well,
Yeah.
you mentioned that first one. Yeah, that was written before I got there, but like, yeah, because until before The Simpsons, I'd worked on a bunch of different things, like shows that didn't go anywhere that lasted like one season or whatever. So you're always like worried, like, will I be able to keep working, and what will happen if the show gets canceled? And every show I've been on had been canceled,
Yeah.
more or less.
Homeboys in
So
Outer Space. What happened there?
they weren't ready. They weren't ready for
It was
the
ahead of its
for the
time. It was ahead of
sophisticated
its
time. It was
time.
way ahead of its time. Uh, but so here I'm in The Simpsons, right? And like like I said, it started in December, and this is now like January or so, like January 12th or something. And they go, hey, if you guys want to come over to the recording studio, like Mick Jagger is there today. So I'm like,
Yeah.
oh man, all right, I'm on a good show, you know. So we all ran over into the recording studio, and we could see Mick Jagger in the booth there, and we're all like 30 of us are all crowded into the other side of the glass, like trying to get a view of Mick Jagger. So yeah, that's a great episode.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess I was gonna infer, like, is there any guest star that you were particularly like giddy about having in studio, or you were like, I had to meet or I had to be there?
Well, aside from Steve Gelbs from SNY, I have to say that Steve was on our Abe League with him. Such a great guy. But no, probably the most exciting thing I've ever, you mentioned Broadway earlier, is that I was a theater major in college in New Jersey, and a big theater person. So I wrote an episode that was on about 20 years ago. It was called Yokel Chords, and it was about Krusty exploiting Cletus's kids, turning them into like a group of like kid singers, and putting them on this show. And anyway, we had a guest star part from Stephen Sondheim on that
Oh
episode. So
wow.
he was my idol, and so I had a complicated thing of getting him on there, but so I went to New York, flew to New York, and like there was a recording studio somewhere like near Grand Central where the recording studio was, where he came in, and I had to be there with him and direct him, and he played the piano, and I told him what to do and everything. And I was just like the whole time I was just about losing my mind with
Uh,
to quote a Stephen Sondheim song. But it was great. That was probably my most unbelievable out of body experience. Like I can't believe I'm in the same room with this guy.
that is so cool. I
Cletus,
mean,
this is Cletus's kids: Tiffany,
Yeah.
Heather, Cody, Dylan, Dermot, Jordan, Taylor, and
Yeah,
the list
we
goes
came
on.
up with some new ones for that episode. One of them was named
Carl
International
Durant and
Harvester.
Mary WrestleMania.
No, there was International Harvester. There was W. There was Jitney. A couple other ones.
that's
Birthday. I think one of them was called Birthday. Yeah,
incredible work.
Yeah,
No, no,
that's
I had a question because I mean, we haven't really touched on your Mets fandom, but I do find Mets
sure.
fans to have very good senses of humor because of the trauma. Uh,
Of course.
how much do you think your relationship with the team has kind of influenced not only your writing ability, but also how the way that you approach some of these episodes?
1,000%. Because like you said, Laura, like being a Mets, I've been a Mets fan for a long time. Uh, you're just ready for the next ridiculous thing to happen. Like even now, like we're half a game out of first place at the All-Star break. Um, and earlier in the year, it's funny because like early in the year, like around May or so, when they were just like hard charging, I was like, man, this feels like 1986 all over again. Like here we go, and it's kind of like here's the banana peel. know, 11 game losing streak. So like we'll never. I don't think we'll ever be satisfied until like the last out of the World Series that we're a good team because you just always expect something to go wrong, somebody to get hurt. Like the craziest thing of all time 2 years ago is Edwin Diaz like destroying his ankle by winning a game. You know, it's just so crazy. So I think like there's a sense of the absurd to being a Mets fan that you never trust anything. Like in my experience, Yankee fans, and to some degree as well, living in LA, Dodger fans now, like come to expect excellence, expect you have to win everything, you know, and if they don't win everything, then you're bitterly booed and you stink, whatever. And Mets fans expect the Mets to stink and we're happy when we're good, but still don't trust it. And you know, that's just the way it'll always be. So I think you have to have a sense of humor, I think, to be a Mets fan.
Who's your favorite player growing up?
Growing up, it would probably was well, like different eras, you know, like when I was a little kid, it was like the 69, 73, those teams. So I think I probably like Bud Harrelson, especially because he really got into it with Pete Rose that time. And he was the first baseball player I ever saw in real life because he came to like a bank in Westfield, New Jersey to sign autographs. It was him and like Rick Wise or somebody, and they were signing autographs. So like he was there and I got his autograph. So I loved him. I love Rusty Staub. And then of the 86 team, like I love them all, like Keith and Gary Carter, of course. And I loved Hojo for some reason. I mean, he's great. I loved him, but like I love all those guys. And now the current and David Wright, of course. I have a crazy story about David Wright that I'll tell you real fast, which is that
Yes.
many years ago, about 10 years ago, it was when David Wright was still on the team. He hadn't retired yet. He was in the middle of like this long rehab. And so he wasn't with the team. And my son and I took a trip back east to Jersey, and we flew back to LA. And when we got off the plane in LAX, we were leaving our flight, and like there's that area where everybody's waiting to get on the next flight. And my son is a big baseball fan too, huge baseball fan now. And he goes, Dad, look over there. And I go, what? And there's a guy sitting there, like kind of just sitting there by himself, like looking at his phone. He goes, that's David Wright. I'm like, what? He's like, I tell you, that's David Wright. And it was David Wright. And he was like waiting to get on a flight from LA to New York, I guess. And we were just like, oh, what do we got to do? What do we got to do? It's like, I don't want to bother him. It's like, but what? Yeah. So we went over there and he just like, he was, you know, and he looks up at me and he goes, hi. And I go, hi. I was so tongue tied. This is more or less what I said. I said, I just want to say, and where's my Mets hat? I just want to say, you know, I'm a big fan, a big Mets fan, and a big fan of you, and I hope that you're doing okay, and with everything's going on with your injury, and I just I literally said, I tried to say like I love the Mets, but I said I just want to say that I love you, and he looked at me like he's like, oh yeah, thanks a lot, you know, like that, and then it couldn't be nicer, you know. But then I just went off with my son and like just crawled into my car and drove home.
That's
Did
But
I
yeah,
just
so I
tell
love
David
David
Wright
Wright.
I loved him?
Yeah, yeah.
I hope he thinks about that sporadically. He's going to be over at Citi Field next week. They're retiring his number.
I know. I can't wait. I'll be watching that. I wish I could be there in person, but yeah, and yeah, no, he lives in LA. I mean the California area, so uh, maybe someday we'll get him on The Simpsons or something. But he's
I'm sure
awesome.
he'd love
I've
that.
always loved him. And then from the current team, I mean, they're all so great. I think I like Brandon Nimmo the best. We met him actually a couple of years, like 6 or 7 years ago, because through all this connections with everybody at SNY and everything, and mostly from old Twitter, I got to know Anthony DeComo a little bit, and so he invited us to come down to like watch batting practice one time when the Mets were playing in Phoenix, and I think it was Brandon Nimmo's rookie year, and we were down there like on the just watching the batting practice, and he came by and he was so nice and so like, hi, I'm Brandon. We're like, yeah,
Yeah, we
I
know.
know who you are. But he was so nice. So yeah, I'm a big fan of. I love this whole team. That like I'm so happy to see them all being all stars now, and uh, it's great. I'm real excited about this team, but of course pessimistic and expecting like the plane to crash coming home from the All Star game or something. You know,
It's your
something horrible
birthright.
to happen.
Or chucking pretzels at them when they suck. And here come the pretzels. This is a black day for baseball. I think that was early Hank Azaria like Brockmire essentially giving that a test run in that episode.
Yeah, right. Because he does that, and then Harry Shearer did our kind of Harry. I mean, sorry. He did our kind of Vin Scully type voice guy too
Yeah,
sometimes. So like,
yeah,
yeah,
that's good stuff. Shifting away from the Simpsons for last but least, Lego Sims or sorry, Lego Star Wars. How did that come about?
yes. Well, I'm a big fan of Star Wars.
Cool, 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 cool.
And having a young son at the time, I wouldn't say I was a fan of Lego. I did a lot of Lego with him, but it was fun. But anyway, just long story short, I met some people who had worked on some other things there at Lucasfilm, some other comedy related things. And so when they were putting together their first kind of Lego Star Wars shows, they reached out to some people, and I was one of the ones they reached out to. And we all had to come up, kind of submit an idea for like, what would be a good Lego Star Wars half hour thing? And I pitched this thing, and they went with it. So that's when they brought me in to do that first one. So I've done a couple other ones since then, but that's been so fun. Yeah, like I'd say the Star Wars is right up there with everything else in my pop culture life.
I find the Lego movies to be so quick and so interesting. And it's like when I first started watching them, I was like, oh, it's a kids show, it's a kids show. But I was just like rolling on the floor because there are so many references in there that sometimes kids get, sometimes kids don't. And The Simpsons tends to be the same way.
Yeah, I think that it was a good combination because it was sort of like I approached those a similar way to The Simpsons, where it was like the shows are mostly geared towards like 7 or 8 year old kids, but also like jokes that would go over the kids' heads, but the parents would get. So I made a lot of references in those shows to like some of the more Star Warsy inside things, like how terrible some of the prequels are and things like that. That kind of stuff. But yeah, that's been a lot of fun. That's been a huge amount of fun to work on those.
Yeah,
That's
I
fantastic.
downloaded the because they redid like they remastered the Lego Star Wars like game and it was
Right.
beautiful. But like there's a
Yeah.
lot of subversive jokes in that, especially with like with like character deaths and like just the blocks like break apart when you slice them with a lightsaber, which is fun. And
Yeah.
when it's time for the Duel of Fates when Anakin's fighting Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan stands up on a ladder to get the high ground.
The
Yeah.
one thing that I like that I put in one of those shows, which I think has since borne out, is that, and I love Star Wars, but like there's this feeling of like every time you do a new Star Wars thing, like the lightsabers have to be different and more interesting, So like in The Force Awakens, Kylo Ren's lightsaber had like the little things that stick out from the
Oh,
hilt,
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
and then Darth Maul, of course, had like two-sided, and then like you have people with two of them, and then in the Obi-Wan show, this character, the Inquisitor, had one that was like a
Oh,
spinning
yeah, yeah,
circle,
yeah, yeah.
So in the one Lego show I did, I think it was called The Empire Strikes Out. Darth Maul showed up and he had like two lightsabers, and then like each of those lightsabers grew another lightsaber. So he had like a eight pointed lightsaber, which I think is they might eventually do that someday. That might be my version of Simpsons predicting something.
Uh,
We'll see.
General
Incredible.
Grievous would have loved that.
That's true. That's true. He would.
Awesome. 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 Mike, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for the time and the stories, man. This was great.
This was so much fun.
Thank
So
you.
appreciate it.
And if you
Oh,
ever
of
do
course.
episode about podcasters, Laura and I don't know, we're sitting right here.
Okay. I'll give you a call.
Yeah.
Thank you
Take
so
Hey,
care.
I'm in
much.
the
This
SAG
was such a
union. Call me
pleasure.
anytime.
Oh, very good. All right. Good to know.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you
Mike.
so much.
Appreciate it.
This was such a
Thank
pleasure.
This
Okay.
was so much
Take
fun.
care.
Thank you. Bye.